Phil walks the tree line when the sun goes down. Boots in the gravel on the edge of town. Backpack rattles with a lantern and a map, looking for the things that never make the trap. Old folks whisper when they see him pass. Boy's been chasing shadows in the midnight grass. But Phil just smiles at the cold night air, 'cause something out there knows he's there. In the rustle of leaves, in the creak of the pine, in the fog where the footprints twist the line. He's the dog man, TP hunter, roaming through the night, chasing ghostly echoes in the pale moonlight. From forgotten forests to the deserts deep, where the old bones hide and the spirits creep. With a camera and courage and a trail to see, he'll follow any legend through eternity. Yeah, the world's full of whispers most folks never see, but they all know Phil. He slept in ruins where the cold winds cry, watch strange lights dancing in a cold black sky. Track bent branches where the tall grass sways, heard something breathing in the forest haze. Every dusty road and every haunted bed holds another secret he's about to defend. And when the fire burns low and the coyotes sing, you can bet he's hunting something strange again. Through the static and dark, through the myth and the lore, there's a howl in the hills he can't ignore. He's the dog man, TP hunter, roaming through the night, chasing ghostly echoes in the pale moonlight. From forgotten forests to the deserts deep, where the old bones hide and the spirits creep. With a camera and courage and a trail to see, he'll follow any legend through eternity. Yeah, the world's full of whispers most folks never see, but they all know Phil. But they all know Phil. Maybe it's a shadow, maybe something real, maybe ancient footprints only he can feel. But the truth lives somewhere past the tree line bend, and Phil won't stop until the very end. He's the dog man, TP hunter, roams into the trail, wild and free.
Hi and welcome to Friday Night Files. Thank you very much for joining. I hope you've had a great week and hope you have an even better weekend. It started off really well. It's going to start off brilliantly with our guest tonight, John Hanson from Haunted Skies. Now, on the screen, you'll see on the top, let's have a look, top right-hand side of your screen, you'll see a QR code. So if you're on a PC or TV, point your phone, or at a later date, point your phone at that. It will automatically come up with a link. Okay, that is the Haunted Skies Facebook. Now, I'm going to also put up on here as well for you the Haunted Skies website. Going to be showing that in the show when I talk to John. He's going to talk us through it because there's some very interesting stuff on there. The reason I'm very, very happy that I've got John on, the reason I wanted to have John on was because at the moment there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of material, there's a lot of basically stuff coming out about UFOs, and it's starting to all kind of get a bit confusing. So for clarity, I wanted to get John on, who is UK based. And from a UK perspective, I wanted to ask him what he thought was going on and some of the cases that he's dealt with. He's dealt with decades worth of UFO experiencing, reporting, and archive material that he has in his possession. So without any further delay, I'm going to bring John on. Here we go. Hello, John.
Hiya. Thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to talk to you about a subject that I'm passionate about and always have been. Well, not always, but yeah, it's good to say hi to everybody. And yeah, you're obviously talking about disclosure.
Yeah.
Disclosure is it's the same. I'm sorry, it's the same old rubbish. I've heard it so many times before over the years, many promises, but nothing ever comes out. And in my vast archive here, if we were in a court of law, we could spend the next 6 months with people coming in and telling people, and I'm talking about not only ordinary citizens, but I'm talking about retired police officers, RAF crew, crew from the 40s, the 50s, who have seen things that, I mean, they know what things look like in the sky. They've seen all these terrific number of strange things. And like you and like me, all we ask for is an answer. And if you think we're going to get an answer from the American government, again, in my opinion, based on this has happened many times before in Washington, and nothing's happened so far. And at the end of the day, it can't happen. There are reasons why it can't happen, which I'll tell you if you want, but it can't happen. It's not going to happen.
I would dearly like to hear the reasons why you think that full disclosure wouldn't happen, John.
Basically, because at the end of the day, governments will never admit that they are unable to defend the citizens from these, whatever you want to call them, these mysterious objects in the sky. I did a book recently called Proximity, and I will say people might think, well, he's flogging the books and things, and I don't make any money out of this. This is important for people to remember. I do not make a penny out of all the books I've written, over 22 books, and the massive archive. That's not what I'm about. So, but it is with Proximity. It's the amount of people that I've spoken to have, like ourselves, been on the way home, maybe been to a nightclub. Mind you, that happened to me quite a few years ago. But people are on their way, and these flying saucer-shaped objects, whatever you want to call them, turn up, and some terrible things happen to these people. Which causes them psychological and physical problems, which actually change their lives forever. And most of them tell me, well, it would have been nice if we'd have been asked if we wanted to, but we were given no choice. We were, when I say the word abducted, yes, they were abducted. And this is an alien intelligence that's been with us for so many years. And in front of me, I've got a magazine called the Viewpoint Aquarius, and I have tons of these. These were recently given to me by a friend of Mike O'Rams, who was a Warminster sky watcher. He's written some books, Does It Rain in Other Dimensions? Smashing bloke, but sadly he has had to give up his research due to his condition, his physical condition. And when I picked one out here at random, and it said, in 1982, for the first time last month, we faced up to the tremendous question of how it was possible, they refer to them as that space peoples, to cause 350 million flying saucer sightings worldwide since 1947. That works out at 1,000 or more per hour by day and night, or some 200,000 sightings each week. And if that sounds absolutely crazy, you know something? I think if I had unlimited resources and I could catalogue everything time, day and date, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But here we are all these years later and nothing's changed. I mean, has it changed? I've seen no changes. We've had some pilots and people that have appeared at Congress and talked about what they've seen. But I suppose the problem for me is that I've read it so many times. You mentioned about a triangular object, or three objects forming a triangle. That is a common background to so many thousands of sightings I've got here. That the thing is, I can't get this information out. Thereby lies a problem. Yes, I am often asked to do a podcast, but the press, the media, the newspapers, they will not touch me. And that seems rather odd because, as I say, I'm an ex-detective, nearly did 30 years in the West Midlands Police, and was a skeptic until something happened to some police officers. And I think to myself, well, it is frustrating, and I'm proud that people like you won't give up, because I think that's what they want us to do, you know?
No, thank you, John. Thank you. All right, I tell you what, John, can I take you back to when you were a police officer?
Right.
So what this fascination with the UFOs and sightings, did it when did it start? Well, did it start in your childhood? Did it start during your service as a police officer and detective, or was it something that evolved afterwards?
It was nothing that happened to me during my service. I can remember being a uniformed constable, walking the streets at night, checking doors and making sure everything was okay. That was on the beat, and that was in all seasons. No, I, for me personally, flying saucers, well, didn't exist. UFOs didn't exist. No, I did the Loch Ness Monster or whatever. But it's only when I just retired from the force that a police officer known to me personally, a good friend, and probably I can't tell you what our relationship was, mainly because friend of a friend, he doesn't want to be named, although I have named him some years ago. Anyway, he was he was directed to a report of a UFO seen over a place called Sturchley in Birmingham, West Midlands, after many people witnessed this object going over the city centre. I think it was about 6:33 p.m. on the 19th of January 95. So he and the policeman went out to have a look, and were amazed to see this saucer-shaped object, which was had a thin, rippling red line in the middle and a blue field around it. It was hovering over trees. I spoke to the policewoman later, and she said she had to keep pinching herself to make her feel she wasn't having a nightmare or asleep. But that's what she saw, and that's what he saw. So I thought, wow, surely there must be a sensible, rational answer for this. So I ended up writing. Well, first of all, I did some research, and I even went down to Oxford, because I tracked quite a few people who'd seen it during that day. And I then decided to write to the British Astronomical Association, wondering if it had been a fireball. You still there? Hello?
I'm here, mate. I'm here. Yep, I'm here.
You've gone.
Yep. No, I'm here.
You've
here.
gone off the
Can you hear me?
screen.
No, I'm here.
Yeah, no, you just went off.
Did I?
No, well, it just goes to show that the gremlins are at it. But anyway,
John,
no,
it's the aliens, mate. That's what it is. It's the aliens. They're interfering. They don't.
Well,
want
I think it must be some. I think it's a bit more than aliens, mate. Is the problem. But yeah, so I wrote to the British Astronomical Association, and in turn, I had a postcard sent to me from the president. I won't name him. I've named him before. There's no point. Saying that he's warned his officers to be aware of crackpot UFO organizations. And I thought, you rude bugger. I really thought, you know, all I was doing was accounting what people had seen, and it certainly wasn't a fireball. And oddly enough, in the archives yesterday, I came across 2 or 3 more sightings on the same day, on the 19th of when I say 19th, Ed's gone, on the 19th of January 1995. So yeah, that was quite a busy period.
Where was this? And whereabouts was this? Where was it again?
That was in Birmingham, a place called Sturchley, Birmingham, West Midlands. And then things were seen, I think things were seen down in Essex a short later, and also in the Cambridge area as well. But yeah, so that's how I got involved, and then I thought I'd like to write a book, and I tracked down a lot of I read books. I got in touch with Graham Birdsall and Philip Mantle, who's a good mate, and I acquired enough information by speaking to the pilots themselves, speaking to a lot of people, and making notes of what they'd said. And I thought, I'm going to write a book. And in total, I wrote 6 books, but then they were taken off. They were taken off the market. They were withdrawn because the gentleman that published them didn't pay me any money for 3 years, so I had to take him to court. It's looking back, it cost me an awful lot of money wasted, so I had to do 4 more books to replace the first 6 revised volumes in colour. I think I got Uri Geller to do one of the forewords, and yeah, I've met so many wonderful people over the years. Trevor James Constable, I haven't met him, but I used to be in touch with him, and as you mentioned about the website, the somebody that was going to do a forward, but unfortunately passed away.
Sorry, John, I'm going to put the website up now so people can see it. Yeah, let's have a little look and see. Right, here we go. Okay, this is John's website, Haunted Skies, which you did in collaboration with Shirley Edwards.
That's right, Shirley. Yeah, Shirley's my partner, companion. She's funny enough. She's sorting out the archives tonight with me as well, as she has been doing for some time. But that website is not satisfactory because recently
Mhm. Looks pretty good to me. Oh, hello. Oh, hang on, wait a minute. We have it's the gremlins again. All right, let me just stop sharing that. Hello, John. Right, okay. John.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can
Right.
hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah. That's right. It's your turn this time. My turn previously, where you couldn't hear me. It's your turn now.
Right.
So yeah, the gremlins have worked their way around your gaff. They must have done.
Right.
Yeah. So I couldn't hear you for a little while there, but I'm going to put it back up again. Okay, the website. Let's see. Let's try again.
Right.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay, yeah, right. So, I mean, Haunted Skies, you worked with your partner, Shirley Edwards. I'm just going to read the first little bit of this because people be a bit small on screen for them to have a look at. But I do stress, have a little look at this website. Links are in the description. All right, and I quote, as the founders of the Great British UFO archives, John and Shirley are dedicated to educating the public on the subject of unidentified aerial phenomena. Based in Stratford-upon-Avon, Warwickshire, the archive houses an extensive collection of thousands of documents, DVDs, and photographs. It also includes comprehensive documentary files on notable cases such as the Rendlesham Forest
Yeah.
and Warminster, presenting researched accounts that focus on documented evidence. So this website is a home for that. It's a base for that, and also it's a home for John's books as well. But he's got details on Paul Hellyer as well.
Right.
I can see on
Paul
the
was
website.
going. Yeah.
And Prince Philip. I didn't realise he was so into UFOs.
Well, that's right. Prince Philip. My late father-in-law was a guy called Ted West, and he served on HMS Kelly in the Second World War with Lord Louis Mountbatten. And Lord Louis himself initially was interested in UFOs, and that's why Prince Philip was interested. And I did put quite a bit in there about Prince Philip, who, as I say, who had the books off me, and the connection through Lord Louis Mountbatten, some of the guys aboard HMS Kelly, who then forged their own interest in UFOs. Subsequently, Flying Saucer Review was then formed, and many years ago, I went down to Rickmansworth, Hertfordshire, met up with Gordon Creighton, who was quite paranoid that I'd been followed when I hadn't. And he made me a consultant for the magazine, and sadly, of course, it no longer exists. But I have an awful lot of FSRs here, and that, as I say, that was supposed to be in there, but it's not. So there will be some changes made to it. But you showed a photo of Winston Churchill. Well, Winston Churchill blocked, back in the 40s, he blocked sightings from pilots, Allied pilots that were returning home from missions over Germany and France. He blocked them because he said it could change our views on religion. And I don't think he was too far off. But then you've got Lord Hugh Dowding. I managed to track some of Dowding's relatives, and I've got nothing but praise for that man. I mean, he was head of the RAF Fighter Command in the Second World War, and he was, he was on our side. He tried his best to warn people about the, if you like, the alien presence, the existence of UFOs. So, but we're talking back in the 1940s, and we're heading towards another 100 years, and nothing has changed, except as I say, that's why it's important that we have that we acquire this for future generations, and because it's important for people that want to learn, But I was said to you before that I can't understand why I wrote off to all the nationals, and we've never had any interest from them about the archives. I've never had any interest from them about the books that I've written. Well, that is bizarre. In fact, I've got the Wiltshire Times here, which is Watch the Skies, I think. Wiltshire Times, Watch the Skies. That was back in 2009 when there was a a conference there in 2009, and I knew some of the people that went to it. Well, I tried the Wiltshire Times and the Wiltshire Journal many times years ago when I produced the Wiltshire book, which was 1,000 pages with nearly 1,000 colour images. And bearing in mind how much time I'd spent on it backwards and forwards to Wiltshire, and I got nothing. So this is my situation, where people will not touch me. I mean, I talked about the 95 incident. That's what triggered off my enthusiasm and my interest. And I contacted the local TV organizations at that time and did quite a few talks on the radio. But as soon as I published the first book, nothing. I've never had anything since. No, because as far as I can see, if you bear in mind the thousands upon thousands of scrapbook cuttings I've got, and the way that the newspapers have handled this for, my God, 50 or 60 years, it's all put out tongue in cheek, isn't it? And why is that? Why won't they get past that? I mean, they just won't. Yeah, that's the proximity book. And that particular book there, that's a couple from, there's a couple from Wales, and they were on the way down to Cornwall on the M5 back in May 1990, and this object hovered in front of the vehicle, and the next thing they know, they certainly don't remember what happened over the next hour, but they suffered some horrific physical injuries and also psychological. But eventually they respect the fact that what happened to them was terrible at the time, but it opened their minds and made them better people, if you like. But people will say, well, hang on a minute, they could have mistaken it for a helicopter or whatever it was. But a lot of other people also witnessed the same phenomena. See, you can't remove this evidence. That is evidence. And at the end of the day, the problem is the more evidence you get, the less likely people, and I don't mean UFO enthusiast, the media will not touch it. I mean, I'm digressing here a bit, but I went down to Ancient Aliens. Shirley and I went down there a couple of years ago, and well, that was an adventure, that was. But the problem is that with most of these companies, they will ask you 12 simple questions. Well, 12 simple questions, and they want 12 simple answers. Well, that's not what it's about, surely. I mean, it just...
my first thing I've got to ask you is, being in the police service, a detective, how would you have dealt with somebody that had abducted a person and then put them through an ordeal which was almost borderline torturous, where they would put them onto a table and they would not explain to them what was going on, and they would then poke them with bits and bobs, let's put it that way, and then they would drop them off, probably take their memory, and then leave them traumatized for most of their lives. How would the police service deal with that? How would they
You
treat
mean
it?
how would they treat? Well, most of the times they would treat it as aberrations of the mind or crackpots. This is the problem. I mean, for me, I've always said that whatever this alien intelligence is, and I firmly believe that it exists alongside of us. And this is just a personal opinion. I mean, I mentioned about millions and millions of sightings throughout the world. And when you get
Mm,
close to one of these things, some pretty terrible things do happen to you. But if whatever these alien intelligence is, if it wanted to destroy mankind, it could, but it
mm,
doesn't. It is their way of utilizing us for their resources, and there's nothing you can do about this.
mm.
Hence the position we're in at the moment. But I certainly think that that they don't intend to destroy
I,
us.
my, when I mentioned that about the police service and about how they would treat people, it was an analogy. What I was meaning to say was, if a person off the street took somebody and then put them on a table and then subjected them to
Absolutely.
probing,
Yeah.
the police would be right. Okay, they would be hammering down on looking for that person, and they would bring them to rights, bang to
Yeah.
rights for doing that.
That's correct.
That
Yeah.
is a grievous it's something which nobody should have to go through, and it
Yeah.
would be
Yeah.
to the to strictest excess of the law. It would be dealt with quite severely. So my first thing would be to ask you this: is you said that that they are not particularly nice when you first came on, that they're not particularly nice, that they're not particularly they don't deal with people in a particularly um warm manner. So
Well,
do you think
it's
that they are demonic? Do you think that they are something which it is a demonic entity?
But it's funny you should say that about the demonic entity, because I've met quite a few researchers, long-term researchers. I remember Randall Jones Pugh. I went to see him. Now we're talking about 1977 Broadhaven County Primary School sighting by the children there. I've met some of the children. I've been there many times, and it's something I've covered quite a few times. Oddly, the sighting took place on the slopes of a nearby hill where originally a path did go up the hill to a church at the top. But yeah, Randall said he was demonic. And quite a few people have said that to me, including Lord Hill Norton's mate that I met, who said it was demonic. And my feeling was, oh, come on, demonic. God, human conceptions of demonic behavior. But the sad part about it is actually that it probably is demonic, because often when people have a close encounter, some strange things will happen in the house. They will see strange figures. Other people would perhaps perceive that this could be supernatural, paranormal behavior. The two, in my opinion, may well be firmly linked. So yeah, I don't. Well, what's your thoughts? Because I think the evidence points to it being demonic, but it's not a good word, demonic, is it? I don't know. But,
Well, first of all, I want to clip that. That's I think you put your finger really straight on the button with that one. There, I do believe that they probably are 100% demonic.
yeah.
Now, why I say that is because they have always been there. There's always been, throughout for thousands of years, there's always been right from cave paintings, engravings, to old pictures, oil paintings. There's always been mythology around this. There's always been strange accounts of people seeing craft of some sort in the sky. I believe that they are demonic because primarily they do not care. They don't seem to understand or reason the fact why a abductee would be scared. It doesn't seem to matter to them. I believe that they are able to morph. Their craft are not if you like, materialistic. I think their craft morphs dependent on the viewer, dependent on the witness. And I think that they morph are dependent on the witness. I think that they, much the same as, let's take it on a paranormal side, they are able to, if somebody sees a UFO, more than likely, they will also have paranormal happenings which go on around them after the fact of that sighting. They will have things moving, they will have tapping on the window, they will have some kind of unexplained paranormal activity. And I think that these entities, they tend to tag on to somebody. And I believe that these entities tend to tag on somebody that they know that they can change, that they can alter, that they can
utilize.
Utilize for their own ends. Now, if they are demonic, those own ends would be to change that person's whole perception of Christ. Now, an interesting thing happened a couple of years ago where the Vatican came out, didn't it? And the Vatican turned around and said, it made a proclamation saying basically, if anybody witnesses any revelations, any UFOs or alien encounters, then those, or miracles, then those, this proclamation, they said, by the Catholic Church, are at the behest of God. God is over and runs the whole show. So, you know, even if an alien came and went rat-a-tat-tat on your front door, please be aware that, you know, that entity is created and governed by God. They made that proclamation long before any of this influx of UFO material and tranches all started coming out. Long before the drones started appearing. Funnily enough, I found it quite strange that they appeared at Lake and Ether Milton long before they did in the American Jersey sightings. So I do think that they are the demonic. I mean, there was the Collins Elite in the States, isn't there? Is it the Collins Elite? I'm sure it is. Which you know, meant to be a quango inner government of the American government, which strongly believe that these entities, and have done since the 1950s, these entities are demonic in origin. And I've got to hold a candle to a lot of hearsay from the point of view of, if it's mentioned so many times, like so many witness statements. Yes, witnesses' statements are subjective to a third party. They're a subjective witness statement because we weren't there to witness it ourselves. But when we hear this hearsay, if it is prodigious, if it's continuous, if it keeps happening, if we keep reminded of it, then I tend to believe, hey, look, yes, there is an elite within the government of America that do believe that they are demonic, and I tend to feel that they're right.
Yeah, I agree with you. But obviously, you look at patterns of behavior when somebody reports a close encounter, and I've met a lot of people that have. These are, in my opinion, very genuine people that don't embellish anything, tell it for what it is. And say you can't ignore the patterns of behavior that certainly indicate there's no real reason not to accept that they are truthful. And then, of course, there's physical, there's psychological things that happen to them. And I, as I say, I've come across so many genuine people. My problem is that my problem is no disrespect to you, and it doesn't. I'm not referring to you, but I mean, I've met some very weird UFO researchers. I'm sorry, I really have, and at the end of the day, it's about doing your best. It's trying to flag up the what this phenomena is all about. And it isn't just about sky watching and looking at UFOs in the sky. When you get close to UFO, you are subjected to a form of, if you like, alien radiation, which, as you mentioned before, can cause some very strange things to happen. I mean, I was speaking to a lady from the Claxton area the other day, funnily enough, and she was telling me about October 1994, when she and her parents witnessed this thing moving over the house slowly. She had it was semi-curved with a pointed tail moving slowly and irradiating this terrific heat. Anyway, nobody believed them, but some years later, she had some repairs done to the house. And the guy that was carrying out the repairs said to her, "Have you had a fire?" Because underneath the plaster, the brickwork was blackened. He'd never seen anything like it before. And I've no doubt that could be attributed to the overflight of this object. Make no mistakes, these things can kill you. I look back at a case in Warminster. A chap called Mr. Tilt and his wife were on the way home. I never spoke to Mr. Tilt, but I spoke to his wife because he'd passed away some years ago. But he was the matter was investigated at the time by a Warminster investigator. Anyway, to cut a long story short, they were on their way home and they saw this triangular thing sitting in a field. His wife said, "Don't get out." She said, "I don't know what the heck it is." But he went out and had a look, and he came back and, as I say, they told Ken Rogers, that was it, her name's coming to my head, what had happened. And somebody went out and had a look at the scene and took some samples. And they said that the heat that had been applied to that field was hotter than a crematorium. Now, that is bloody frightening. Oddly, and this isn't the only time I've come across it, but the gentleman concerned, his wife told me, following that particular incident, had 3 marks on his chest, forming a triangle for the rest of his life until he passed away. And you might think, wow, that's so weird. But one thing is a bit weird, but when you look at hundreds of things that are weird but follow the same pattern, the triangular marks and all sorts of other things, you think, crikey, that is the way it happens. So but yeah,
I mean,
but you remember go on.
No, I was just going to say, do you know what, John? With all your archive material, one of the standout, um, uh, 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 happenings in my mind, which kind of typifies this strange, absurd, bizarre events which happen to people, and I think that they happen to people dependent on the witness. These things manifest, and they're able to manifest dependent on the witness. So, take for instance, in the believe it was the Isle of Wight, the Sandown clown.
Yeah.
So it was two children walking along just outside of a campsite. It was quite sort of marshy and boggy area, but then they heard like this, almost like in the old-fashioned days, you had the wind up musical box. They heard like a sound a bit like a musical box going, and then they heard a siren going, this like high-pitched siren. And what appeared to them out of the water was this gloved hand. And then this strange, but remember who the witnesses were. They were children. So to them, what they witnessed was this very strange clown figure with antenna coming out of its head. And I believe it had like square eyes or a square nose. I don't remember exactly the thing, but and I think that these things kind of manifest. I don't think that would have if you were walking along that same path, John. I don't think it would have manifested in the same manner to you.
I wouldn't. No.
You know, and I think that goes some way to, and it's the same thing with paranormal stuff. I think it kind of like it almost manifests in such a flipping absurd way that it makes it sound stupid, quite frankly. It makes retelling of that account just benign. There's no point. You would feel embarrassed about telling it because it's so absurd.
I absolutely agree with you. Embarrassed. I'm still embarrassed when people say to me, "What do you do now since you retired?" Sometimes you'll either get, "Wow, that UFOs, crikey!" I actually had something happen to me years ago, but others predominantly will look at you as if you're nuts. And you're talking about the clowns. It was a very similar. Well, not so much with the glove, but the clowns were seen at Liverpool. Again, I've got it all here, where lots and lots of school children flocked down to this field every night because they'd seen what they thought was a clown. And even the police were called. And then I actually spoke to a lady that ran a church locally, and she told me that, you won't believe this, she said, but money was falling from the sky. And this is where it gets really weird, is because this isn't the only, you would actually refer to things that fall from the sky if they weren't conceived by human behavior as being apports. And at Rendlesham Forest I personally witnessed apports of stones in Rendlesham Forest, which I had examined. They examined the ones that had fallen on the ground against the control samples. And the control samples, which were the normal stones, were typical round, smooth, polished stones, probably dirty with age. But the ones that, if you like, the ones that fell in the apports.
Is it that stone, John?
Sorry?
Is it that stone, John, on the screen?
No. That is an implant.
Okay.
Absolutely. But right. So the stones, the scientist said to me, she said, "I don't want my name given." She said, what you're dealing with there is the impossible. These are brand new stones. You can't have brand new stones, can you? But I was there, and I heard them fall. And I did mention this some months later to one gentleman, and he said, well, look, it's probably birds at night flying along with stones in their mouth, dropping them. Well, that's rubbish, because these were levitated. And we're back to the demonic paranormal stuff. These were levitated. And one shouldn't forget the incident in Thornton Road, Washwood Heath, Birmingham in the 70s, a matter that was brought to the attention of Sir Arthur Clarke, who sent a film crew over there, where for 3 years running, these stones were falling in showers of stones on people, these 3 houses. And the army came out, the police came out, spoke to many of the police officers, and they were quite frightened. And some of the army men, they labelled the stones, put them back, and then some force picked the stones up in the air and levitated them elsewhere. Anyway, eventually I went to see the lady in the middle, who was still living there, and this was probably about 10 or 15 years ago. And we both think it was something to do with the fact that what the family had done, they changed they wanted a new pathway at the back of the garden. So the original stones in the garden were gravestones from a local church. Somebody had put them years ago to walk along, and they took all those up, you see. And I'm pretty sure that is you dig things like that up, you cause yourselves problems. And that's not the only time I come across people who found Anglo-Saxon urns, Anglo-Saxon material, Roman stuff, and they've moved it about, and things happen. So I can only relay what people have told me. But it's fascinating. It really is. But go on. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, what do you make of Colonel Halt and the Rendlesham with your investigation and your archive material that you've collated together? What do you make of that whole incident?
Well, as I say, I'm a personal friend of Colonel Halt's. Been to see him 2 or 3 times. In actual fact, excuse me, but this is well, I don't know if you can.
Okay.
That was sorry. He's put. You may have eaten back in my backyard. He had a barbecue and he gave me one of the T-shirts, which I treasure. Unfortunately, as I say, his darling wife died a few years ago. But he's in much demand by film companies because all he can tell is what he saw. And what I try and explain to film companies is, first of all, you need to look at 1980. On most days in 1980, things happened in this country, all sorts of things, including allegations of abduction. But what happened in the forest, as I say, involved a number of people. I have my own views on it, but we have something like about a huge amount of files here with material, magazines, press cuttings, original statements, all relating to Rendlesham Forest. And when these film crews come over, they're not interested in that. They're not interested in that. They're just interested.
John, you just. I get that. I do. I know. It's funny. You co-authored the Halt perspective with Colonel Charles Halt regarding famous 1980 UFO incident at Bentwaters and Woodbridge. So, what are your thoughts on the shocking claims that the American servicemen were administered truth drugs like sodium?
Well, they were,
by the OSI, but by the OSI during the debriefing. What do you make of that?
Well, they were, most certainly were. Colonel Halt wasn't, because of his rank. makes you wonder, doesn't it? Yeah, that's the way it worked in those days. I mean, on December the 20, let's get this right, 27th of December 2000, I was down in the forest. I've spent a lot of years down Rendlesham Forest. I'm a firm friend of Brenda Butler, which reminds me I must ring Brenda. I haven't spoken to her a bit. I've met up with her and Dot Street and so many others in the forest. And we've witnessed some amazing activity, which has taken place in the forest. But I filmed this square-shaped object with rotating lights around it on the 27th of December 2000. And I told the press put just a short article in about it and weren't that interested. Now, I managed to track down a couple that also were involved at the time with a chap called Victor Keane. And Victor Keane, who's now passed some years ago, he has tons of information on the Flying Triangle, the object that flew over Suffolk and Sussex and Essex and areas. And as I say, this couple filmed something over Sizewell B power station. And now going back to when Sizewell B power station was built, there was an awful lot of paranormal activity reported by the guys that were building the site. So take that into account. But they saw this thing hovering over there, and something came out of it. And that was identical to what I filmed in the forest. And for me, it's a never-ending journey of putting all this stuff together and ensuring, hopefully, my aim is, because my aim is nobody lives forever. But for me, it's so important, because if you want to check something out in front of me, I've got Joyce Bowles. I spoke to Joyce Bowles. You won't know about Joyce Bowles, but she was with a chap, and all sorts of strange things happened to her in Winchester. And she's the middle page of the News of the World, 17th of April, 1977. And cases like that could attracted the News of the World, attracted so many papers, but they don't attract them anymore. And I don't understand why that is. And of course, I've got something else here, which is the News of the World, one man's incredible story of UFOs. That's the centre spread. Something to do with Michael Jackson as well. But that's that, you see. That's the sort of thing, if you can see it. And you wouldn't get anything like that now at all. And of course, you saw about the News of the World. That's the UFO lands in Suffolk, and that was written by Keith Beebe.
Can you hold that up again, John? Can you hold that up again?
Yeah, sure, I can. Well, we'll try and get it. Hang on a minute.
Okay. Yeah, UFO. Yeah, that's official. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the shape, but I think you'll.
Right. Yeah. Fascinating, isn't it?
But it's sensationalized, isn't it? It's I do have other sightings, a lot of other sightings around the Rendlesham area in the forest. And don't forget 1956, the Bentwaters, over RAF Bentwaters. And I interviewed the pilots from going back that not back in 56, but I interviewed the pilots that saw something over that area at the time. And for me, the frustration is that the more you learn, the harder it is to accept why the subject matter is kept so far away from us. Obviously, that dictates worry and concern over governments, because they all they want is just superficial knowledge. I mean, if you had come out today and you were interested in UFOs, you would look at Rendlesham, you would look at maybe the the Broadhaven County Primary School 77, the 77 wave, the 78 wave, the 79 wave. We have all those waves here. We have everything. All we ask for are people to come along and enjoy and also educate themselves. They can camera shoot what they want, but it's about
it's quite. I understand your frustration. I do. I understand your frustration. Can I ask? The stones that you saw at Rendlesham.
Yeah.
That time. What did the scientists find when they analysed these stones? And why were there no age-related fissures inside them? Do you think, John?
Well, they cannot give the answer because these things shouldn't happen, but of course they do happen. Back in Birmingham, as I say, it was the smooth, round, polished pebbles or stones. But if you look up at ports, on the internet, you'll find that there's been a lot of ports, both in America and other parts of England over the years, and I've no idea what perpetuates or causes this. But as I say, how can something? But not only stones, coins, and other strange things have dropped down. And are they from another dimension? Are they from the future, or what? It doesn't make sense. But none of this makes sense, does it? Really?
No, I don't think. I actually don't think it is meant to make sense. I think that there's meant to be. I think it's propagated. The confusion is propagated by certain elements within government, even.
Correct. Yeah. I couldn't more agree with you. Yeah.
There's a definitely a locked gate that we're not meant to go past. And everything around that locked gate is just a bit of a circus.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that perhaps we have to say to ourselves, well, maybe it's not a case that they are keeping something from us to withhold information from us because it's potentially bad. I think it could be a case like Margaret Thatcher that time when she was asked by that journalist, and the journalist said, Prime Minister, what's your thoughts? What do you know about Rendlesham Forest that kicked off in 1980? And she said, you can't tell the people. Yes,
How's
exactly.
That then?
Yes, there we go. That's timing. That's timing for you.
That's timing. Yeah, that's you're right. Yeah. And because I've always said that, well, we know that when people have had many close encounters over the years, and we know that people have written to the MOD, and we know the MOD have never given them any answer to it at all. And these people have just had to continue and live on and put up with so much. It reminds me of a lady back in, she was on Doris Matthews. You won't mind me giving her name. Doris Matthews and her daughter. Their lives were changed forever. They were on their way home on the 31st of December 1999, and they were following the Roman road when this thing hovered above them, terrified them, and then it shot off across the field opposite to the right, which was where the old Roman road used to go. Anyway, when Doris got home, she found she had quite a substantial injury to her chest, the center of her chest. So she went to hospital. They stitched it up. They were bewildered by what she told them. and she wrote to the MOD. She got bugger all back. She wrote to the police. She got bugger all back as well. And to this day, it's changed her life completely. She even went on the local radio station, and other people came forward and also experienced things like this. So that is the problem. At the end of the day, I don't think governments can actually accept that they can stop it. Okay, it might, you know, they're quite willing to maybe show photos of aliens and use AI to do God knows what. But this is serious research. This is a frightening research, and on occasions it's quite terrifying. And the thing is, you can't tell the people, because the people must not know that we cannot protect them. And I mean, we mentioned, sent that photo of that lady before to you, before I forget, about Monica Van Voren, which I came across today. I think that's back in the 60s. And this, she said that, and you did some research, and she was the star of Andy Warhol's new film Frankenstein, and a shot in the dark. I'm not sure when that year was, but I would imagine it's in the 60s. But she said, we were celebrating the opening of the play. I was cooking dinner while most of my guests remained on the terrace to look at the late evening sky. Somebody suddenly shouted, look over there. I came running out of the kitchen. She spotted a cigar-shaped UFO suspended in midair above the beach. Hundreds of people gathered to watch the strange craft. One wonders now, in hindsight, how many of them were affected or infected. Anyway, she said it was tremendous, larger than the full moon, green and orange lights that blinked on and off. It seemed to be breathing or pulsating as if it had a life on its own. They watched the object for about 10 minutes before it disappeared out of sight. And she said, actually, I don't drink at all. There's no question in my mind or in those of the people present in Jacksonville that night what we saw. The experience caused her to take a deep interest in UFOs. She said, jesting, I wish someone would carry me away to another planet. All she wants is the same thing that we want, the same thing that a million others want, an answer. An answer. And that's
Yeah. Yeah.
Ready? That's
Right. I'll just make that. Hold it up. There we
yeah,
go.
just, oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. I've got it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll click
So
that.
you might say,
Brilliant.
yeah, I mean, you might say, well, that's one interest. I find it fascinating. I'm never stop finding it fascinating. I mean, that's just one sighting out of probably I don't know. I reckon we got about 250,000 here. And
yeah, I mean, you've got quite a archive. I mean, this is a picture you sent me of your archive. Just some of it. That's some of it, isn't it?
That's just some of it. Yeah, yeah. And we've got a lot of books. We've got cuttings. Ideally, we could double that. But the thing is, we haven't got the room. A friend of ours who lives in, I think I might send you a picture. A friend of ours who lives in Newquay. He is the only guy we've met that's offered to fund us when he dies by leaving his property to us. Now, that isn't. I wouldn't get too excited over that because it's quite a small property, and it's. Who knows? But that his name is Bill Dillon, and he met Alan Hynek after his sighting in 1957 at Ramridge School, Luton, Bedfordshire. And we went to see Bill recently. He has a propensity for beer and expensive steaks, but a nice guy, and it changed his life completely. So yeah, it's just one of thousands, I suppose, or maybe millions. And it's. I'm sure you'd agree with me. It's important to preserve the information. There's a flying saucer.
And I have a tent with your name on it, John. When I go,
What? It says. No, but
Yeah, a tent, and I can leave you some debt as well.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
You're joking. No, you're joking. No. It's yeah, it's just. I mean, I mentioned about space link. Yeah, there's basically we've got. I mean, we've got so many.
Well, hang on. What is that? What is that? Say it again. What is that? Well, hold that up again. What was that?
Well, that's. Let me just see. I think that's.
That's the BT Tower.
Yeah, that's. It would have been before because Lionel Beer, who's still going. That's the sort of thing. Space Link. Yeah, they did.
Okay.
But yeah. Now Georgina Bruni. Going back to Georgina, I met her a couple of times in the forest. She was a lovely lady. A shame she passed away so early, wasn't it?
Mm.
And that's the cosmology. This is.
We have destroyed a creature from space. What? Okay.
Well, that's yeah. This is it's an unknown creature, 20 foot long, 8 feet high, with a leathery hide and hair and no mouth, eyes, nose. Appeared in Hobart, Tasmania. A marine biologist said many such creatures have been found over the years on land, on beaches. They don't come up from the depths of the ocean. They fall down out of the sky. Now, that might be a load of bull. I don't know, but blimey, it's certainly interesting. And there's some. I'll just. Sorry, that's Laura Mundo. She was a researcher.
Ah, right. Okay. My work, Laura
Mundo. I've got her files here. I never met the lady, but Laura Mundo. It's the same with yourself. It's important we preserve all this because we're not going to be here forever. Yeah, I mean, so it needs to be done. And to be honest, I'm talking to Shirley today. Philip Mantle. Do you know Phil, dear?
No, I haven't met. I would like to meet him.
Well,
I'd like to meet him.
Right. Well, I'm sure Phil's going to be doing. He's not been well lately. We popped and saw him recently, and he's recovering, and he's on a podcast soon, which is good. I don't know which one it was, but I'm certainly I can put your name forward, and he'll appear on there because he's one of the old school. He's been doing it. Used to be with Bufora. Used to be with a friend of Graham Birdsall and Mark Birdsall's. And yeah, I mean, he's a great and he's written quite a few books. He's definitely into the Pascagoula one, and they're going to do a film on that, hopefully. But Phil Mantle, I recommend.
I would greatly appreciate if you did put my name for it. Just mention it to Philip. That'd be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
and if you did, I would chuck in a couple of sleeping bags in with a tent for you, John.
I thought you were going to chuck in a couple of pints.
I can do that as well.
Oh no, but it's sorry, I was just going to say what we need to do. We need to honour all of the work carried out by so many people. You know, we can't let it just go nowhere. So many people.
I know. That's the thing. We do have to, and you know, it hurts me really that the UK and the UK government, successive governments, haven't really taken the anomalous activity that has happened in UK skies seriously, and they haven't really shed any light, let alone the fact that I think it was 1998 the Air Force decided not to document or account any more sightings of UFOs or anomalous objects in the sky by military pilots. They stopped taking any more witness statements, which I think is 1990, I couldn't believe. I'm like, what on earth? What? So, I mean, the old adage of bury your head in the sand. I mean, seriously, I just don't understand. It won't go away. It's never
No,
going to
no,
go away.
no, 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 it won't.
It has not gone away for decades. So why this whole facade of let's bury our head in the sand, we don't want to know, nothing's going on here attitude still prevails by the powers to be? I do not understand it myself. I really don't.
Well, you're so right, because as I said before, if I've gone back, I'm doing the book on Wiltshire, Warminster and beyond. I wanted to put the record right with Warminster, and I have masses of information. I've spent a lot of time in Wiltshire over the years. It was disappointing that the book I wrote on Wiltshire, which had some of Warminster in, didn't even get any coverage. I appreciate that, to all intent and purposes, they don't want, well, it's like a friend of mine on the national newspapers years ago said to me, John, they don't want serious researchers. They want something that they can look at tongue in cheek and have a bit of a laugh over. So that's, I don't understand.
John, can you sort of like sum up what happened for people watching this at Warminster? A lot of people know about Rendlesham. It's quite well known, quite well documented. But Warminster, what actually did happen there?
Well, a lot of sightings it all started off in 1964 with some really horrendous noises that shook people's houses, and slate started to come off, and that caused a lot of consternation and interest. And then things started to be seen on Cradle Hill, Clay Hill, and then you had Arthur Shuttlewood, who was a Warminster for the Warminster Journal, took an active interest. And in a nutshell, well, I never met him. I've met some of his family. One of the nicest guys you could meet, heart of gold, used to live just down the road from Cradle Hill. And he used to run out of the house and go up onto the hill, and thousands of young men and women came down to Warminster, eager to see what they referred to as the thing. And and of course the trouble is there was a gentleman and his friend that involved in hoaxing, and also there was a hoaxed photograph. And so, if you like, it's my intention, I'm about 3/4 of the way through, is to set all this out, research, investigate it. I've been in touch with many sky watchers, including Ron Neville's that lives down there still. He's been a lot of help, and John Bennett, an ex-police officer who used to get on the Cradle Hill, and many others that I've talked to. And I think for me, it's important. You've got to set the record straight. The trouble is, excuse me, there's been so much bullshit published about UFOs. It's time we set the record straight, and that's what it's about. And okay, I won't be around forever, but hopefully the books will be, and hopefully the archive will be. If I was a multimillionaire, I'd have so many books going out, because it's important. It's about what we do, and it's the same thing about you spending time tonight to talk about this and raise the flag. Because take it from me, prior to podcasts, there was an awful lot of UFO research groups in this country, and many of them are not here now. Because that's how it is. And so yeah, that is all we can do. So
well, I'm afraid to say that it kind of the problem is, as I see it, we can only postulate on what we're given.
Yeah.
And it's Oh, right. Yeah, that's is that Colonel Halt?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can only postulate on what is what evidence is kindly given to us, or
True.
information is kindly released. Other than that, all we have is subjective witness testimony.
Yeah.
Because these things very, very rarely appear in the skies to a stadium of football fanatics. They very rarely appear at Wimbledon. They very rarely appear to a mass of people. They have done in the past, but rarely. And when it has been, when it has been seen by a mass of people, it's invariably always been construed as having religious connotations. The visitation has.
Well, yeah.
So, that's the problem. We kind of like a lot of these groups and a lot of these people tend to sort of it's not our fault. It's not the group's fault, because we do go around in circles like a bunch of headless chickens, because we kind of keep arguing about the same small minimal amount of evidence that we have.
Yeah.
It's not enough. It's not enough to get our teeth into. We don't have that steak. We're just nibbling on the edges of a burger. That's all we're doing.
Yeah. Good.
It's not a great analogy, I know, but so it's not really our fault, and I think I've got to tip my hat to you, sir, for collating all this information and keeping this information and filing it. Because it will be, I think it will be very and is very, very important that this information is documented.
But what do we do with it? That's the thing. Because I was saying about Philip Mantle, he's left all of his material to a guy in America, Marla, and it's Marla, yeah. Who runs a big place there. And of course, over the years, I've had a Klaus Venn from AFU Sweden come over, scrounging some stuff. They have huge warehouses full of it, but thereby lies the problem. Huge warehouses full of it. Well, how do you find it? How do you get into it? And so I don't know. I'm hoping that a library will eventually have this stuff off us, eventually. But over the years, I've come across many occasions when researchers have passed away and their family have dumped all the stuff. Graham Birdsall comes into mind for that one. His beloved dumped all of his stuff, which is a shame. And recently, Roy Lake, as I understand, before he passed away, burnt all of this stuff and destroyed it. It seems wrong. It just seems wrong, but it happens all the time, because what you're destroying the evidence. You're destroying the heart of it, so that in 100 years' time, people will still be taking the mickey, taking the pee out of people like us or like you or whatever, who show an interest in the UFO subject. And but maybe you're right. Maybe, as I've said before, it's a bit like a Pandora's box. If you could take the lid off and look inside, you'd never be the same again. Maybe you'd wish you'd never done it, because you've hit the nail on the head with religion and demonic and supernatural, and definitely those two run side by side as they do now. So
yeah, I think so. I honestly do believe. I mean, JD Vance was mentioning about them being demonic entities, and I've got I have reason that I
Yeah.
will explain to you. I will explain to you. I can't publicly yet, but I will explain to you, John.
Yeah.
Partly the reason why I do believe it's the way it is at the moment. Um, so, and I think it's really in our own best interest. I think a lot of the people that there is people, and I'm not scoffing at anybody, because there's a lot of people that kind of do try and contact, and they meditate, and they I've been on a CE5 group, and
Yeah.
things I did see stuff. I think it does
Yeah.
work. Do you think, John, that there is a correlation between us wanting to see something and it appearing, answering our want? Do you think that the CE5 group do have are on the right track when they come to meeting up and meditating, calling out?
Opening the mind and accepting that we're not the only ones and that there's other life forces out there. I think that has a lot to do with it. If I can just, have I got a couple of minutes?
Of course you have. You got as long
Yeah.
as you want.
No, I should just say this is not me. I believe in UFOs. The time is long past when the Air Force or the scientists or the government can say that what people are seeing in the sky are nothing but hot air balloons of the planet Venus. That kind of double talk won't wash any longer. They have been seen by too many people in too many places for anyone to doubt they are out there. Although I believe in UFOs, I must admit that I fail completely to understand what their purpose is. I just can't find the answers to the intriguing questions that they raise. For example, if these vehicles are piloted by intelligent beings from outer space, then why have they made no effort to contact heads of governments or other responsible agencies? They have kidnapped farmers in a Georgia swamp and a couple driving a car, but have made no effort to contact the people of Earth on a large scale. Perhaps soon they'll make their purpose known. During the making of the Star Trek series, because this is William Shatner, I spoke to many science fiction writers and technical advisors to the show. Almost to a man, they were absolutely convinced that UFO existed. They were all well-informed and highly intelligent people. So too many trustworthy, well-qualified people have seen similar objects. I have never seen a UFO personally, but the evidence in their favor is so overwhelming that there is not the slightest doubt in my mind that they exist. And that's Captain Kirk of Star Trek, William Shatner. I think he's still alive, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching Star Trek all those years ago. Great.
Yeah, I did. And Gene Roddenberry was way
That's
ahead of his time, wasn't he? Gene
Yeah.
Roddenberry way ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Do you know I heard that he got the idea of the Starship Enterprise with its cylinder-shaped engines and its saucer-shaped body, because Gene Roddenberry saw UFOs, and he said, because I asked him, how did you come up with that iconic shape of the Starship Enterprise? And he said, because I saw a saucer. He said, and I've seen cylinder type objects. And he said, I believe that they belong to something so enormous that we only see part of it at any one time in the skies. Oh, hang on. Can't hear you, John. No, yeah,
speaking.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh,
Yeah, the gremlins.
okay.
Yeah, they didn't want you talking.
Well, and there are gremlins. Absolutely, there's human gremlins as well.
Yeah.
I won't run through it all because I haven't got the time. But maybe next time you can select a year for me.
Yeah, Yeah,
You
sure.
want to select the Essex area, and we'll go through the Essex area stuff.
I think that will be a great idea.
Yeah.
Right. So just before you go, just to let people know,
Oh,
I wanted to ask you, the Great British UFO Learning Centre. You and Shirley Edwards run the Great British UFO Learning Centre in
right.
Stratford-upon-Avon. What can visitors expect to see in your massive archive of documents and photographs, and also in the centre? Do they get in contact with you before they go? Make an appointment? Is that the way it works?
Well, that's right. Have you got this? Oh, you got the autograph book there, Shirley. Doesn't matter. Anyway, I was digressing there. We started this 3 years ago, and the archives are much more healthier because we've had so much work given to us that we've had to incorporate. It's important. If you want to look at the 5th of January 1972, let's have a look and let's see what we've got for 4th or the 6th. And that's what makes the Warminster book and beyond brilliant, because you can mention a specific date when something's happened. We can check and we can supply information surrounding that, corroborating that what was seen in all probability. So that's what we're doing. We started off, we went to Stratford-upon-Avon. We put some flyers in the information office, a couple of years ago now, and we had something in the local newspaper, and we put all these flyers out. Zilch. Nothing. Hardly nothing. The only people we get occasionally are film crews, which is ridiculous. I've been all over the country. People say, well, hang on a minute, that's a long way for us to come. But with due respect, I've been all over the country researching, investigating, accumulating all of this stuff, which has cost me a fortune, putting it together. So, okay, if it's not too far away, just come up. And the Swansea lads have been here quite a few times. But the local groups show no interest, which is odd, because it is odd. I find it strange that,
it is odd. It is very,
it
very
is
odd.
Like we said before, yeah.
All right, look, I'll tell you what, John, we've reached our time. If you'd like, I would love to have you on again, if that's okay. And as you say, we can sort of like take either an area or a year and just concentrate on that, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, Shirley just wants to know, do you want brown sauce or red sauce on your burger?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, I'll probably get there in the morning, so it'll have to be a bacon bap.
No, I'll put it.
A little bit brown sauce, mate. Brown sauce.
Brown sauce. Right, okay.
Brown sauce, that'd be great. Thanks, Shirley. Appreciate that.
Thanks for your time. Thank you.
All right,
cheers.
And stay on a minute, and I'll talk to you afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Right,
okay,
everybody
cheers.
watching, thank you very, very much indeed. Do appreciate it. Take care of yourselves. Have a lovely weekend. All right, see you again soon. Bye-bye.
It's just
I know what I saw out there.